Back to the armbar now. So listen, whenever you have an X choke, you have the arm lock, all right? So remember, a lot of times in order to prevent you from get the X choke, he starts being lazy with his hands or putting his hands in a position where it's going to be easy to armbar him, all right? So let me show you what I mean. So when we were doing the X choke, we drove our fist in, right? We opened our thumb, got the thumb outside, we dropped our elbow, hand on the ground, shifted our weight to the left-hand side. Now it's at this point that usually, this was like step 2 of the previous one, this is usually when you start looking out for the arm lock here. All right, your weight's over here, and what we're going to notice is what he's doing with his right arm if I'm on this side. Think about this, and this is true for gi and no gi. If you're going to get an arm lock, right, your primary concern is taking his elbow and moving it to the center line of his body. That's a primary concern, all right? There's a lot of ways to do this. We can do it by baiting a choke. We can do this by actually physically moving him. We can do this by attacking his other arm. But that's your primary concern if you're trying to get the arm lock. So when we're here, what we're going to do for step 1 is we're going to take his elbow and we're going to push it over to the side. Just push it out of the way. But once we push it out of the way, we have to block it with something. All right, so the whole move is going to look like this. Look. Just like that, and finish. Now, in steps, we have the collar, we're at step number 2 from the previous move. So step number 1 is going to be this. Push the elbow into the center of his center line, and then we're going to attach our belly button, like around our hips, to his tricep, so we can't pull it back out. Here, and I'm going to attach. See, I attach my hips to it, so we can't pull it to the ground. Now, next step, we're going to take our hand, we're going to block his head over here. So, step 1, push his elbow to the center. Step 2, block it with your hips, lay on it with your hips. Step 3, put hand on the ground and block his head. All right. Step 4, drive your knee up towards the top of his head. All right. I like to bring my knee maybe like 4 inches above his head, something like that. All right. Step 5, what we're going to do is we're going to imagine, turn this way. Imagine there is a piece of chalk on our heel and we're trying to draw a half circle from his hips all the way to his head. So if I had chalk right now, you'd see like a half circle being drawn on the ground. All right. Another way of thinking about it is just taking your foot and putting it underneath the shoulder, whatever works for you. All right, so we're here, and the next step was draw the half circle from his hips all the way to his head. All right, next step, I think it's 5. We're gonna underhook the arm that we're gonna break, all right? So we're gonna underhook the close arm, and we're gonna lean towards his legs. Imagine there's a pillow on his legs, and you wanna lean towards the pillow, all right? You wanna lean. That's gonna allow you to get your other leg over his head. And then we're just gonna finish. Elbow to wrist, fist to fist, all right? And make sure that when you go down, your knees are tight, super tight. And then we finish the submissions controlled. Slowly raise the hips, all right? And he taps out. Now, common mistakes with this position, all right, are like this. If I can't do this when his arm's underneath here, like he's already blocking it, right? So I have to repummel and get my arm in the proper position. That's number 1. Number 2, if I come here, people a lot of times, they'll block, and they'll put their hand on the ground, all right? But if I don't block this side of his head with my hands, or come here with my elbow, then he can just move. So just move, yeah, and then his arm pops out, right? So make sure that when you do that, that you come 1, hips, 2, block it with your hand. And I like to move his head, kind of like we did when we were just doing mount position, move his head back a little bit to the left. Now, next mistake, if you leave your left knee where it is, it's very, very hard to get the arm bar. The farther your knee is down towards his hips, the harder it is to finish an arm bar. So that's why it's super, super important when you come here, that the knee moves high by his head. The other mistake a lot of people make is that when they're doing this, even when they're like right here, their weight is too far back over here at this point. Once I start trying to attack his arm lock, and once I pass his arm, I gotta put a lot of pressure on his face. Meaning, when I come here like this, my weight and my hips are like forward like this. Because I don't want to be in a position like here, like explode into me. Like, you know, where I start losing stuff. So pretty much once I pass this arm, once I block, I put my weight on it, I block over here, my weight is like here, it's like forward on his head, so he can't explode the other way. All right, that's a big thing. Second thing is, make sure that this does that trace. It doesn't matter if your foot winds up over or under his arm, there are triangles, you can still take an arm lock, but if you want to just today, just to practice, pick up his arm. Pick it up, put it underneath, all right? And then the last mistake, see how I'm holding right here? I don't really have anything. Make sure you go underneath the correct arm. And sometimes I like to wrap up both arms. See, I'm holding both instead of just one. There's a lot of different things, advanced things that we can get into later. And then the last mistake, the most common mistake is this, is that people always do this when they drill. They go like this. And then they put the leg over. If your butt hits the ground before your leg goes over, you lost the position because it'll just come up, all right? Yeah, and that's why we gotta lean. So make sure when you do the arm locks that you lean towards the leg so you have time and balance to bring the leg over, just like that, guys.